Hello everyone and welcome to the Gooner Factory. Sir Thomas Partey is finally back for Arsenal. How good is it to see Thomas Partey training fully with the first team? There are still a few questions though I think we need to answer about Thomas Partey, and they are: does Partey start straight away? How does Partey change Arsenal's midfield? And will he stay fit? I've got some interesting takes on these questions, but also there's Nuno Tavares. He's wanted by Marseille on a permanent deal, and this could open the door for Arsenal to then bring in someone new. But this Tavares deal does have a difficult obstacle in the way that we will discuss. And finally, Callum Wilson to Arsenal. This deal was broken yesterday with Wilson up for sale by Newcastle, and Arsenal are said to be very interested in his signature. So, let's get into it. So, obviously, the first place to start is Thomas Partey. He is back. He was pictured training yesterday in Arsenal's first team. And this is such big news for Arsenal. At a time where we're struggling to bring in signings, this could be the cliche of a return of Thomas Partey. Could be like a new signing for Arsenal, but that is just because he offers something that's so different to the other options we have in central midfield. Obviously apart from Declan Rice, but Declan Rice can now be paired with a midfielder who is so much more combative than a Jorginho, who has such a higher defensive level than a Kai Havertz. So this is where I think Arsenal now are really going to look like an improved team going forward this season, because, you know, last season we were such a strong team and that was based on the strength of our midfield. We know we had Partey in that defensive midfield role, and we had Xhaka, who is so comparable to Declan Rice. So I think when we get these two on the field together with Odegaard, I think this is going to be a real strong combative midfield that I think a lot of teams are going to struggle to deal with. So that is exactly how Thomas Partey changing Arsenal's midfield. He brings a defensive stability that is so much stronger than anything we've had to offer for most of this season. We know Arteta this season has had to play two more attacking midfielders in those central midfield positions. We got three positions. Odegaard is obviously the more attacking midfielder, and that number 8 position, he's had to play players like Havertz, like Trossard. But now you can play Declan Rice and Thomas Partey in the two central midfield positions, and that will shore our midfield up, because these players are not only so good at playing the ball, but they are so strong defensively as well. There's been so many games this season where Arsenal have seemingly lost the midfield battle, and the introduction of Thomas Partey will strengthen our midfield tenfold. I think we're really going to see Arsenal's results massively change this season. I think we're going to see our attackers start scoring, and I think it will all be based on the fact that our midfield is so much stronger now. So that leaves us asking, does Thomas Partey start straight away? The report is that Thomas Partey will be in contention for the Nottingham Forest game, but do you go and throw, you know, let's be honest, an older Thomas Partey, an injury-prone Thomas Partey, straight back into the start 11 on the first game back? I think that would be slightly irresponsible. You never know what Mikel Arteta will do. There's always the possibility that Arteta will surprise us and throw Partey back in, but I highly doubt that's going to happen. In my opinion, what's going to happen is he's going to play the same midfield he's been playing, so probably Havertz is going to get a game. But then it just allows you, if you're winning the game, or even if you're not winning the game, no matter what way it's going, I think you're going to be bringing Thomas Partey on at 70 minutes, for example. If he can get 20, 25 solid minutes against Nottingham Forest, I think that will set him up perfectly to be able to feature for a much longer period of time in that massive game that we've got coming up against Liverpool. So that's what I think is going to happen. Thomas Partey is going to get 20 minutes, and then hopefully he's in a position where he can start. It will always be a risk starting Thomas Partey in such a big game against Liverpool, but this is the kind of game you need your best players available for. If we can go into that game against Liverpool with a fit Thomas Partey, a fit Declan Rice, a fit Odegaard, that midfield will have so much strength in it that I don't doubt that we will be able to beat Liverpool at the Emirates. So that just leaves us with the question is, will Thomas Partey stay fit? And this question, no one knows the answer to. It's an absolute gamble, because Thomas Partey last season, He played the majority of our games. He played something like 33 league games, which is the highest amount of league games he's played for Arsenal since he made the switch to the Emirates from Atletico Madrid. So there is the possibility that Thomas Partey won't get injured for the remainder of the season, and that's exactly what we need to happen. If we're to have any chance in this title race, we need a Thomas Partey that can stay fit for the remainder of the season. We need to play Thomas Partey, Declan Rice and a Martin Odegaard midfield three for most of the games coming up for the rest of the season, and I think Arsenal will be absolutely fine. But not just in the Premier League. If we're to have any chance in progressing to the latter stages of the Champions League, you need a strong midfield as well. Imagine Thomas Partey and Rice can both play in Premier League games against top clubs like Man City, against Liverpool, but then also they get to play in them Champions League games as well. We got Porto coming up, so to have him fit for a game like that is absolutely massive and will help our chances so much in being able to progress to the last 8 of the Champions League. And that would be crazy to think about because Arsenal haven't been in the competition for such a long period of time, but we definitely have the ability to be able to go all the way in the Premier League and the Champions League now that Thomas Partey is returned. And you couple that with a fact on this next story. So let's get straight into the story. The story is Nuno Tavares is wanted by Marseille on a permanent deal. And this deal is so big because we spoke yesterday about how close to that FFP line we are. But if we can move a player like Tavares out and get a small fee for him, that would allow us to bring in a player like that Ezequiel Fernandez in that central midfield position. So we know Arsenal have been waiting for a deal where we can sell one of our players so we can bring another player in. So if this Marseille deal can actually happen with Tavares, that would be such good news. But the obstacle in the way is we know Nuno Tavares is currently on loan at Nottingham Forest and we don't have a recall clause in, so we can't just say, oh, we'll bring him back and we'll pay you a small fee. We didn't put that clause in the contract, so we're really going to struggle going to Nottingham Forest and saying, oh, excuse me, we know you have so many players away at the Africa Cup of Nations, but can we recall Nuno Tavares for no fee so we can sell him and make money ourselves? I think we're really going to struggle in that deal going to Nottingham Forest and proposing that offer. So the only way this can happen, in my opinion, is if we go to Nottingham Forest and we give them a cut of the transfer. Not necessarily all of it, of course. We know it's going to be a small fee anyway, but I think there is going to be a price to pay if we are going to recall Nuno Tavares from Nottingham Forest. So that's definitely a story that I would keep your eye on. But the final story we're going to be getting into is Callum Wilson has been put on the market by Newcastle and Arsenal are said to be very interested. So Callum Wilson is a fantastic player, okay? You don't need me to tell you that. All you got to do is look at his stats, look at the player, and you can see that this is a very good striker. Is this the striker that Arsenal need though? No way. Not in my opinion. Arsenal should be going nowhere near this deal. Not because he's a brilliant player, but because everything else that comes with him. We know Newcastle have to sell in order to bring in new players. So what they're doing is they're selling, one of their better players. But this is a player who's already reached his peak. He's already 30 years old, so there's not much scope for improvement. This is the finished product. You're not going to be getting in Callum Wilson and then improving this player to get something that's even better. This is the player that you're bringing in, Callum Wilson, and he is a good player, but he is so injury prone that I don't think it's a good deal, especially at the price quoted. So listen to this. Make sure you're sitting down because Newcastle are said to be wanting £80 million for Callum Wilson. That is an extortionate fee for a 30-year-old injury-prone player who's not even a full international. Let's not forget, this is a player who cannot get in the England setup ahead of Harry Kane. And when all England strikers are fit, this is even a player that some people wouldn't even take. You know, if you get 2 strikers, a lot of people would say, no, I'd take Harry Kane and Ivan Toney. So Newcastle are wanting £80 million for a striker who is not even a fully fledged international. I don't think this is a deal Arsenal should be going anywhere near. Like I said, he's injury prone, he's 30 years old, and why would we do Newcastle a favour by buying one of their players so they can go and then spend that money to improve their team? This is an absolute no-no. I hope Arsenal don't go anywhere near this deal. I hope these reports are fabricated because I struggle to see what benefit a deal like this would provide to Arsenal. You're bringing in an injury-prone player who is a great striker. Don't get me wrong, he is a fantastic striker, but he's injury prone. He's coming from Newcastle. He's £80 million. This deal just doesn't make sense to me. We don't have money to spend £20 million on a young and upcoming central midfielder. So where would we be able to find the financial wiggle room to bring in an £80 million striker? This deal just doesn't make sense to me whatsoever. But I want to hear everyone's opinions and thoughts on everything you've heard in this video. So let me know. How happy are you to have Thomas Partey back? Do you think he starts straight away in the Nottingham Forest game? Let me know. What do you think of the Nuno Tavares deal? Do you think this is something that Arsenal should be willing to do? Bring Tavares back, maybe pay Nottingham Forest a small fee, so then they can sell Tavares and hopefully bring in a new player before that deadline window shuts. Let me know. Also, Callum Wilson, is this a player you think Arsenal should be going anywhere near? Let me know. Thanks so much to everyone for watching and listening. As always, if you could quickly just hit that like and subscribe button, and I'll speak to you all in tomorrow's video. Gooners, have a good day.